What's going on, people? Welcome to United View. Welcome to your... No, it's not weekday. It's not weekday. It's match day. It's your match day news, your transfer view. It is match day. We are taking on Brentford later on today. But in the world of Manchester United, there is still a lot to talk about in the fallout of last night's news. Some stuff early this morning. It doesn't stop just because it's match day. So smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And batten down
Got
the
there.
hatches. Yes, not battle, as I've learned. Owen, we got a lot to talk about this morning. To let you guys know, we are going to be talking about Ronaldo staying. Ten Hag loves Rashford. Ten Hag on the panic. He's had a lot to say in the press conferences, especially the bit that comes out afterwards, the embargoed bit. A lot of interesting comments there. Agents make contact in terms of Memphis Depay. We're going to talk about that. And 7 days for De Jong to make up his mind. Are we finally going to see something on that? The other day, it was the next 24 hours is going to be crucial. We've heard it. But we shall discuss that a little bit later. What are you saying, Owen? What's the first thing that we've got this morning? Saturday morning, it's match day. There can't possibly be any controversy. This has got to be good news, isn't it?
Yes, Cristiano Ronaldo, Eric Ten Hag obviously had his press conference live-ish yesterday afternoon. But sometimes the most interesting comments and the most interesting quotes are what happens in the embargoed part of the press conference that comes out at night, right before the match. It was a staple under Ralph
Let's
Rangnick.
save it for later.
Yeah,
Compact it back.
all the time used to happen with Ralph Rangnick. You do the press conference, you go, "Oh, that was pretty good," and then later on in the evening, bang, 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 bang. Start hearing these quotes, and especially when you don't see it live, you go, "Where are these coming from? This is quite jarring," especially with some of the stuff Ralph was saying. And it was the same with Ten Hag last night. He's talking about Ronaldo, saying he loves Marcus Rashford. He's talking about the panic from some fans after the defeat against Brighton. So plenty to get into this morning. Let's start off with Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, Eric Ten Hag was asked, it doesn't say by which journalist, but he was asked how he is managing the situation with Cristiano Ronaldo, who, quote, doesn't want to be at the club. Eric Ten Hag laughed at this and said, "That's your assumption. That's not what he's telling me." Now, there are several different ways you can look at this, Flex. There are several different ways you can interpret this. Obviously, the easiest one is to say, well, he hasn't told Ten Hag he wants to leave, so clearly he wants to stay, he is going to stay. You could look at it another way, saying, maybe he hasn't even really spoken to Ten Hag about it at all. We've heard that agents have been involved, George Mendes and Richard Arnold. Maybe they've been discussing all that. Or maybe it was just a load of stuff about nothing. How did you interpret that quote? Ronaldo clearly is going to stay, but there's a little bit something deeper there, I feel. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a bit... It's not cryptic because if you think about it from Ten Hag's side and the club's side, for once, they've stayed on the same page the whole way through something, haven't they? You know, to people who, some people like, see Ronaldo, this, the manager wants him, I'll sit down, you lot in the mud, anyone who wanted Ronaldo out, that always happens. But let's just remove the hysteria and just talk about it factually and logically, yeah? The club have played this the way that they've played it since the start. As soon as there was murmurs, not for sale. Expecting him in the squad. From that very first presser when we was in Thailand, I haven't spoke to him. He's away on the family thing, but I expect to have him. I'm looking forward to working with him. That was the line. The line from the club, what we were told all the way through the summer, has been Ronaldo's not for sale. He's part of Eric's plans. And right from the first presser, Eric Ten Hag said, I'm expecting goals from him. So in that case, they're actually been consistent. And that's not something we always see. We usually see like a change in direction or an alteration of the words coming out. It might change a little bit, but we haven't seen that. We've seen that he's not for sale. He's part of the plans. Eric's looking forward to having him. And by Ten Hag coming out and saying that, though, although that we'll talk about the other side, which is the Ronaldo side, I'll leave you to bring that in. I'll give the Eric Ten Hag side. From the Ten Hag, because I know that bit's coming. From the Ten Hag side, you have to say, you know what? He's been consistent. And for him to come out, though, at this stage, when we're nearing the end of the window, he's been bullish about the squad being stronger. He's been bullish about us getting more players and said we have to. He's been bullish in the Rashford situation in terms of saying he ain't leaving. Manchester United were as well. To come out and say that on Ronaldo is quite strong, though. Well, that's your assumption that he wants to leave, because that's not what he's telling me. So I know you could argue that, well, did he actually tell you he wants to stay? But he's openly saying he hasn't told me he wants to leave. Now, we could argue in the Ronaldo section that his actions might have differed because he was trying to leave. We'll get onto that. But to Ten Hag, he's saying it's a player who hasn't left the football club. I don't want him to leave the football club. He's going to be important for me. And basically, I can't wait to have him. So nothing's really changed from Ten Hag's point of view. But actually, the only thing I thought was interesting was the fact that he went quite strong on that. It was a little bit more aggressive than the more reserved. Listen, you can keep asking me, but he's not for sale, and that's final. It wasn't that. It was, to laugh is like, told you that, did he? You know what I mean?
You think you know what's going on, do you?
Burning through transfer rumors, mate. You know what I mean? Yeah, whatever. You think that, mate? That ain't what he told me. It looked a bit more smug, didn't it? And it would be a bit embarrassing now from this position for him to publicly go a bit stronger, and then he leaves. That's why I'm like, okay, I think that's been put to bed. But the discussion point from the other side is about to come.
I would say that I do hope, and it won't because the window is still open and there is still time. But my hope would be that it does put a bit of a button on it, and that's maybe what it kind of felt like. Of well, he's telling me he's not, he doesn't want to leave, so fine, it's over kind of situation. That is hopefully the situation of it. Again, you can look at it different ways. You gave the Ten Hag point of view, which I do agree with. From the Ronaldo perspective, you can also sort of say, well, maybe that he just hasn't had that conversation with Erik Ten Hag. Maybe it's not Cristiano Ronaldo that's told Erik Ten Hag that he wants to leave, but certainly George Mendes has. George Mendes has told the club he wants to leave. Maybe that hasn't been directly between George Mendes and Erik Ten Hag, but clearly George Mendes has said to Richard Arnold or John Murtough or whoever, Ronaldo wants out. Ronaldo wants to leave. He wants to play Champions League football. He wants to achieve things. He wants to win things. And in fairness, to your point, it's kind of essentially very similar to what Ten Hag was saying when he was in Thailand, when he was in Bangkok, where he sort of said, well, I haven't had that conversation with him. So,
Exactly.
And now it's kind of the same now. Well, but even he could also interpret it as, well, we haven't really had that conversation, but he hasn't come up to me and be like, I want to leave. We've had very good.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
We've had very good conversations about, about tactics.
About you're taking it there. You're taking it. Well, okay. He hasn't knocked on your door and said, guess what, Eric? I want to leave. But he also hasn't knocked on your door and said, Eric, guess what? I want to stay. It's all fake news out there.
Well,
it's how you could interpret it.
It's been reported that he's being very professional. So to me, being very professional is showing up, training, listening to what the manager says, interacting with the manager, because to have that conversation on the training pitch isn't the time to have it.
No,
you're not doing passing drills and going, oh, by the way, take you to one side. What's this about you wanting to leave? I want to win things. No.
And also, do you know what's very interesting as well? And again, I'm not trying to stoke up the fire. I'm just trying to give all possibilities, which is why it's difficult to be all in one camp or the other, especially while the window's still open, because that's when it's factually over. Or it's factually over when you get something from the player that says, I can't believe there's been all this noise. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to see out this last year and do the best until they say something like that. When you watch All or Nothing, no spoilers, kind of, but I do need to spoil it a bit because I want to use this, and this is a Man United channel, so if you haven't seen it, that's who cares. When they're handling the Oba situation in the last few hours, and they basically ring his representatives, or they talk, Edu and that are talking about it, and they say, "What's the latest from Oba?" And it's like, well, we're talking to his representatives. Like, we don't actually speak to him about that. That's what you do when you have an agent. You're not entirely. Yes, it's nice to have clear the air talks with the manager, etc., but it's not weird, especially in the football world, for everything to go with agents, especially the high caliber top draw players, the superstar players, who were moving for astronomical sums of money. Aubameyang and maybe even Ronaldo and people like that, they don't sit down with Erik Ten Hag or the manager a lot. It might happen sometimes if the relationship's there and you want to hear it from the horse's mouth, but 9 times out of 10, it's through George Mendes. Or maybe not even George Mendes, it's through the lawyer. The lawyer will ring and say, listen, we've had a look at the contract. There's this, there's that. We believe we can get him a move that will free up this sort of money for that sort of money. And then John Murtough and the guys are like, right, how does that fit in with the finance? They don't even talk to the player sometimes. So, what I mean?
I remember there was one, speaking of All or Nothing, when it was the Spurs one, it was a similar situation, ironically, with Eriksen at the time. I believe Mourinho was talking to Daniel Levy, and he goes, what's going on with Eriksen? He goes, well, his agent's been quite difficult. They want to leave, but we want a lot of money and blah, blah, blah. And you just think, like, have they actually spoken to Eriksen?
Yeah, and Eriksen's just training every day.
And Mourinho, who had just come in at that point, he's a new manager, similar situation to Ten Hag now, and he's like, So what do I do? And they're like, well, we'll sort it.
Yeah,
We'll
leave it to
figure it
us.
out.
And
Because
even
again,
Rob
that's not
Holding,
his role.
it's not his role.
He's the
Exactly.
coach.
You
He's
got
the
to
coach.
you got to concentrate on football. And this is why it's difficult to take. On one side, it's difficult to take what Ten Hag says as absolute. That's what's going to happen. But also for him to change his tactic and go a bit stronger, you could assume that something a little bit more potent was there in terms of him believing that. Because if you think about it from a Ten Hag situation, he could be well within his rights to say, well, listen, I've not heard any different. Nobody, even the hierarchy, haven't come to me and said, listen, Cristiano's nearly going to leave. Like, he's trying really bad. And if the right offer comes in, he might go. So just keep saying he's not for sale. Because that was what it was at the start. But to go one further and say, that's what he's telling you, it's not what he's telling me. That
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
do you know
Exactly.
what I mean? That changes the perception for me.
Yeah, and things have gone, it must be said, over the last few weeks. Obviously, the hysteria about the Rayo Vallecano stuff, and there's always going to be hysteria about him not starting games or being on the bench or coming on or whatever. But in terms of the transfer speculation surrounding Ronaldo, that has died off significantly. Like the idea of specific clubs being interested, whether it was Atletico, whether it was Napoli, whether it was whoever, it's died off. I mean, they're not even really clubs at this point being linked to him. And you feel like that has dropped off because the realization for Mendes and Ronaldo has finally set in of there just wasn't anyone interested. And from a United perspective, as you mentioned, I do think they have to have credit in this instance, not for everything else this summer, but for in this instance, because they played it very well. They said he's not for sale publicly. Privately, they probably said, well, see what happens. See if you can get anything. Knowing there was nothing there. There was nothing ever going to be there. So once they come to the conclusion, Ronaldo and Mendes, that nobody's interested, United still look good because they go, well, if there was an offer, we'd have maybe considered it, but there was no offer. So I guess you're staying here, etc., etc.
What about, because I suppose we'll never know because, well, like you said, there's still a couple of weeks left of the window, so anything can happen. You can never rule things out completely until it's done, deadline day done. But if we assume that he's going to stay here, what about if Man United just meant what they said from the start and George Mendes and that knew, even though they were looking around players, they just said, listen, you can look around all you want. Someone can bring a deal all you want. He ain't going. He ain't going. Like, imagine Man United really did do that thing of the against his will thing and really did say, no, you are staying. Because obviously I was in the camp of, listen, as soon as someone like Ronaldo wants to go, you have to let him go. Like it's disrupted to the dressing room. How's that going to look? How's it going to be with Ten Hag trying to bring a new culture in there? And it was like a large section of us had made up our minds already that this needs to be resolved. What's the easiest, least the damage limitation? What is the easiest way to get him out of the football club? The quickest and swiftest way. Gary Neville said that as well, and loads of other fans. Don't get me wrong, there was a whole lot of fans as well saying this is ridiculous that people even want him to go. He's our best player. I'm riding out for this guy. Like, we need him to stay. Even though he doesn't want to stay, I hope a move doesn't materialize and he has to stay because we need him. So there was so much conversation about it. And I just wonder whether Man United just stuck to their complete guns in general and was like, don't matter even if you did agree with something with Bayern, you ain't going.
Yeah, and knowing what we know now, if he had gone, and I understand your rationale, I think was very sound at the time, i.e., Ten Hag's doing a rebuild kind of thing here. So if he wants to go and he doesn't want to be here, maybe it's not the best thing in terms of the long term. Knowing what we know now, if Cristiano Ronaldo left this summer, we're not replacing him. Irrespective of just talking about not even talking about his quality. I mean, exactly. In terms of literally the player, yeah. we are not replacing him. And maybe you could argue United might have even known that going, I tell you what, there's a lot of work for us to do. This De Jong thing's going on. We're just, even now, look, we're scrambling around now. And the problem is, I know Man United get linked with a lot of players. And previously, I didn't buy into a lot of those links. Now, I buy into a lot of them. Because I do think there's a scattergun approach right now of going, look, we need bodies. Ten Hag said it yesterday. He said, Simon Stone asked him, at the end of the window, do you think you're going to have a more well-rounded squad? And do you think you're going to bring more players in? He said, yes, we need to. If that doesn't happen now,
he said we have to.
yeah, he said we have to. And he believes that we will. If that doesn't happen now, I said it in the press conference reaction yesterday. Like, there is massive egg on his face. Now, I do think we'll make signings, i.e., Rabiot, but that's not a more well-rounded squad.
But also, it's not egg on his face. It's 100%, and it won't. I don't even see it as egg on his. I see it as he's basically put the position out that the board need to fulfill now, because now he's left the door open for us to pile in, even though we're already piling because we know that the guy needs players. Look at the team last year. But when the manager publicly says, we have to add, and I'm confident,
And
when
he's
it
already
gets to
getting
the
asked
end of the window,
questions. He's already getting asked
100%.
questions about it when they're
Yeah,
going, do you think you're perfectly aligned with the board? Yes.
yeah. So if it gets to the end of the window and we don't have more players, that's all I need to say.
Yeah,
That's
I
all I
mean,
need to
and
say.
yeah, the pressure is truly on, and I do think it must be said. I do think that we will get more players in between now and the end of the window. Um, whether or not they're the right players, I think that's a different conversation. But I do agree with him that we'll get more players in. But I just, again, I'm going back to it, and it's slightly off topic, but the fact that already the board and the higher ups have gone, yeah, we are actually short. And it took the Brighton game to realise that is to me the wildest thing about it is they had that Brighton game. They went, you know what, we're really short, and everyone went, well, we knew that. Even the people that were the most positive about the window so far, we knew that 3 wasn't enough. We're talking like 5 or 6, and again, it doesn't get solved in one window. It never was. But just to get through this season, we need more. Not even have a successful season. To get through it, we need more.
But do you know what else, mate? Again, I think people would be frustrated, but not as angry as this. Even if it was rambling on this long, say the Frenkie de Jong situation was just a bit more clearer and it looked like we are still going to get him. Anthony. No, we were gonna, the players that we were linked with were like the strong ones that we really do want to see come to the club. And it's like, well, now we're negotiating with Tillemans. It's gonna happen. It's just taking a little bit of time. If it was that, people would be like, they've taken all summer and they still haven't got them. But at least the players we're linked with are like, once, like you said, once the door shuts, but they're in. If you a little bit after that, you forget that they came late. You just get on with it because you got the players you want. But it's because, like you said, the scattergun thing. It's because it was the Arnautovic. It's because it's Gakpo all of a sudden. It's because it's Rabiot. It's because it's Milinkovic-Savic again. You don't have that feeling that this was meant to happen with these players.
Yeah, they've fumbled it. You do 100% in terms of the top targets. They have absolutely fumbled it. It's Frenkie de Jong was a top target. We don't know what's going to happen with that one. Anthony clearly was a top target. He fumbled it. The United rather have fumbled it because I hate these reports now when I see them going, "Oh, Anthony's still a top target for Man United." Well, he's not because we're not getting him. We are not getting him. That is done. That is dead in the water unless Manchester United completely panic on the final day of the transfer window and go
80 million.
Go 80 million, Anthony, we bring him in, which I wouldn't even want to do that to the player.
Well, what about if we don't get Frenkie de Jong? So there's more money there. So because we were going to get Frenkie de Jong plus other players for like 30 million. So there's money there. So if you say that 85 million is not there anymore for Frenkie de Jong.
But the purpose is of like that Anthony price tag is that Ajax are purposely overcharging us. Ajax are aware he's not worth it. And they're going,
is he only worth how much we need him, though?
He's worth 85 million. And they're like, and let's be honest, he is not worth it. That's the reason they put that price there. No. No, because what's 85 million? The difference between finishing in the top 4 or not? We're not going to finish. If we sign Anthony, I mean, it helps us maybe win games, but you don't buy Anthony and go, we'll get in top 4 this season.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not
even
game changing.
You even get De Jong just by himself and say we're getting top 4 this season. No. The game changing aspect is getting all of them. I don't think not one specific player would be like, right. No.
We're better, obviously, clearly with all of them. We're better at a team if we get De Jong. We're a better team if we get Anthony. But to put our hopes on one player, I'm kind of done doing that actually at United as well. I'm kind of done pinning our hopes on this is going to be the game changing signing. Because we do it every summer. This is going to be the one. It's going to be Sancho. It's going to be Ronaldo. Even when Maguire, let's be honest, when Maguire came, this is the thing that's going to show up our defense. And all that pressure, it never works. It never, ever works. The expectation is way too high. That's why I say about Anthony, I don't want to sign him for 85 million, 80 million, not just because the price is too high, but the expectation on him, as soon as he has one bad game, he's terrible, he's a flop, he's over, he's rubbish, because he's not worth that amount.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. And remember, you can join the United View Members Club if you haven't done so already and you would like to. And also remember, as you can see in the sidebars, check out the preview we did with Natalie Sawyer. Really, really good. Short, sharp, sweet, straight to the point. And a lot of fun as well. Really amazing broadcaster, Natalie. She's been for years as well. Huge Brentford fan. So make sure you guys check that out if you haven't done so already. Just quickly on the Flexing KG show. Listen, KG's out here getting Oscars at the moment. He hasn't been sacked. He hasn't been fired. You saw him on the show
Suspended.
yesterday. So, he
Suspended.
hasn't
He
been
came back from
suspended.
suspension.
You know, he's not on gardening leave. You know, don't worry. But in terms of the Flexing KG show, he's just mad busy right now. Do you know what I mean? And when you want your people to do well, when you support your people, you encourage them to go and smash it. And that's what KG is doing right now. So we haven't forgot about the Flexing KG show. It's just that KG is has got a lot on right now. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, big up to him.
And shout out to KG yesterday. He was on DR Sports. I don't know if you saw it. Best of
Bits
enemies.
of that, yeah. He's a braver man than me.
With the Don and expressions. He was representing United View. He was getting a lot of slander. You know, United are getting a lot of slander. And he was there representing. He broke the Premier League trophy, which was hilarious. He went to go pick it up and it broke. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't see that bit.
It was amazing. He said to expressions, he was like, see, you never even won this. And he went to pick it up and it just collapsed.
Just typical KG, isn't it? That's just, you know what I mean? Typical KG. Right, so we'll get through the super chats. Carla Boy, thank you for this for the super chat. And another super chat from Carla Boy says, big up the man then. What a journey, Flex. 3-1 win. Whoa, you lot saw my prediction with Natalie. I'm not.
It was a draw you went for, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not feeling good about this one. And Amir says, does Fabrizio's reports have any bearing on this? What's Fabrizio's latest reports, unless I'm missing something? What, on the Ronaldo situation?
I'm not sure what Fabrizio's latest reports are.
About I haven't seen anything recently.
I saw he posted something about the comments by Ten Hag last night, which we just spoke about. But again, as to our point, it's very quiet about actual specific clubs right now.
Yeah. Nick says, let's see if Frenkie plays tonight at Barca or is even in the squad. Xavi didn't really back him in the presser, so it could be a massive hint tonight. We'll have to look at that. Yeah, because now the season starts. You know, you don't want players getting injured if they are going to get a big move. You got to protect your assets, you know. Or do you say, look, you know what? If he has to play 15 minutes, he still carry on like normal. Just because you're getting to get a move, don't mean you don't play. Some people do, because there's so much riding on this money-wise for Barcelona. If he broke his leg, touch wood, definitely ain't going to get bought. Do they do that? I think we could look at that.
I mean, they also as well, but I saw Barca like celebrating, going, we've registered Lewandowski, we've registered Rafinha. And like, you go, well, the fact you're celebrating that, the fact that is a story, go, see, we did it. Yeah. It's like, I think Real Madrid, they're not, that's not even a story that they can register players or anything like that, you know? And I still, like I said, with the whole Barcelona thing, it will come back to bite them eventually. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Butterbean 22-1 says, 2021 says we paid 80 million for Maguire, just saying. So basically saying, you know, so what if we have to pay whatever it is for Anthony? And descendant of the first says, well, just had my porridge. I'm now smoking hopium. Buckle in, it feels different. I love the channel Fleck. It's definitely channeling. Love that.
He got all of the catchphrases in. He got all of them in. That's impressive.
That is very impressive. That is super chat of the day. 100% agree. Josh says super chat of the day. There. Owen, next topic, Rashford, and you know what's Ten Hag saying? Ten Hag loves Rashford, right?
He loves Rashford. Yes, he loves Marcus Rashford. Of course, all of the links to PSG. A couple of days ago, Eric Ten Hag was asked about this in the press conference, in the earlier press conference, and he said that he wants to stay. He's very happy with him ever since he's come to the club. He's been very happy with him. He wants Rashford to stay. In the embargoed press conference last night, when he was asked if he'd spoken to Rashford about the recent PSG reports, he said, quote, "Not yet, but he knows I love him. He knows I want him to be here, so I will tell him that again." He then also said, quote, "He showed already in the short time I've been here in preseason what he can do. Also, last week he was twice in the right position to score. He was in the right moments at the right place. I trust he will finish in the future." Now that bit at the end, where you go, "I trust he will finish in the future," you go, Eric, I know you haven't been around for a while, but you should watch some tape on that one. But clearly, all signs are, and I believe Romano did say on it might have been his YouTube channel this morning, saying that basically Ten Hag has told the club on several occasions, we can't afford to lose a player like Rashford. Rashford has to stay. We need to keep Rashford. Rashford, I'm very happy with. What was your, because obviously you went on the morning show yesterday, you were on Sky, big up for the Sky appearance, excellent stuff as always. What is your thoughts on all of that Rashford drama, dilemma, the PSG stuff, new contract, all of the above? Just that, a cough. Oh, just like sick.
Next. Yeah, it was like next. Like I just felt like there was never anything, you know, people were reacting to it straight away saying, yeah, this is the time he should go and stuff like that. I didn't believe it for 1 second. I just thought absolutely no chance. No chance. Whether or not, I didn't even get to the point, me personally, mentally, of going, should he go then? Should we? Now it's genuine. Like, should he? Because I just thought there's no way Man United are going to sell him. I didn't think there was any way Rashford wanted to leave. But having said that, if his camp have initiated talks or something like that, is it an angle to get improved terms, a better contract? There's so many different things it could be, but I don't think he genuinely wants to go to PSG. I think he's very much in the belief now, listening to him on tour, that he's got the backing from the manager. Clearly, after this circus, that 24-hour circus happened, you can clearly see that Ten Hag, like you said, Ten Hag loves Rashford. He's got the backing from the manager. He publicly backed him. He's backed him in private. He backed him before the season even started. And we said even before Ten Hag come to the club that Rashford is almost that perfect player that a manager like Ten Hag, with his tactical brilliance, with his progressive play, with his working with players and improving players and system, and that Rashford is the one who needs to kind of benefit the most from that, to get the old Rashford back. Now, a lot of people have given up on Rashie. A lot of people have given up on Rashford. And I've said, if the club if Ten Hag came in and said he was surplus, you wouldn't get me saying, no, he's from the academy. He needs one more year. Please give him one more year. I'm only happy to give him one more year because the new manager thinks he can get something out of him. Now, I know we can't do that for everyone, because then you can say, well, Flex, he keeps playing McTominay, he got cut off. I get that. But at some point, like we said, we've got to back this manager and what he feels. It's, excuse the pun, it's all or nothing this year for Marcus Rashford. It's now or never for me. Like, especially because he's got 1 year left on his deal. We can trigger a further year. He's got to do something. Now, this is where Man United also have to do something too. They have to prove, have they changed as a football club? Because if Rashford plays as shit as he did last year and puts up exactly the same performances for the whole year and ends the season almost in a worse position, because that's 2 back-to-back situations where he's been poor, and they roll out the new contract on improved terms and bigger money, we're in the mud. That proves the club has not. That proves that players still aren't earning contracts. That's how you end up with a Luke Shaw. That's how you end up with, a situation where, if Harry Maguire extends, that's how you end up, again, someone like Rashford, big players on big wages, not performing. That's how you end up with it, that you can't shift, let alone, no disrespect, but the smaller players who are on, smaller wages and stuff like that, like Tellez and Wan-Bissaka, that are surplus now. So I think it's interesting to see how this plays out. He has to earn that. I don't want to hear any Rashford contract talk until the end of the year. And also, they should just trigger the extra year anyway. This doesn't mean they want to keep him, but it means that they need to keep his value up. Do you know what I mean? So that if he is going to get sold, he's got time left on his deal, for me. But he has to prove it.
Yeah, and I do think, though, it must be said that I still can't ignore what happened in, like, he definitely, like, not Rashford, but his representatives, his agents clearly had talks with PSG. That happened. And this is twice now. And it happens once. It happened last season after he got dropped for the Manchester derby by Ralph Rangnick. And it came out going, Rashford, he might want to leave, He might want to leave. He's not got long left on his contract. And he would be open to signing a new contract. He's very happy at Manchester United to sign a new contract. And then everyone called, not necessarily Rashford, but Rashford's people, and I guess Marcus to an extent, they called him out to say, come on, get your head down. Let's not start angling for new deals at this point. I know it's part of the game. I know it's part of football.
Yeah, but you've been awful, mate. So
exactly.
You don't get,
It's not the time. It's not the time and the place. And again, after one game of this season, when the club is in turmoil in terms of, again, scattergun approach to getting transfers and a poor result in the first day of the season, a loss and a new manager, again, it's not the time to be like, I had talks with PSG and I maybe would want to get a new contract. No. And I saw a piece from Samuel Ucker saying that Rashford has now said to people sort of privately, no, I really want to stay at Manchester United and the manager really wants to keep me and I like working for the manager, as if to say, that's kind of backfired a little bit there. And it should have backfired because it's not the right time to do that kind of stuff. And then again, you're not like Mo Salah at Liverpool, when you can kind of do that a bit of leverage or have those demands. If you're scoring the most goals in the Premier League and winning things, you can't do that on the back of having bad performances and a bad season or a bad 18 months. So whilst I'm with you, I don't think it's the time to write Rashford off. Some people already have. It is the opening game of the season. There's a long season to go. He's not going anywhere, clearly. Ten Hag wants to keep the player, and the club want to keep the player because, again, who do we replace him with at this point? If Rashford did go to PSG for 60 million, 70 million, it's good money to have, but who are we
Do you
replacing
trust the
with?
club? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Do you trust the club
exactly.
to
You
do that?
don't
We
trust the
can't.
club to do
We
that.
need to get one forward, let alone two if he goes. You know, we need
Exactly.
we almost need Rashford to stay, get someone in his position, and he's the one who sits. Like if we got a good left winger, Rashford, you ain't been turning up trees, putting up trees. So you're the one who would potentially sit while we try and get a tune out of you, and you can
Yeah, I
see
mean,
someone
let's
else in
face
your
it.
position.
If we get a left winger in, Rashford's probably in a bit of trouble because
100%.
if they come in and hit the ground running, their form immediately would be better than Rashford's form
Even
because his form
when,
has not
and
been good.
you know what we should even be looking at, in my opinion, because you got to try it again. But I know Martial spent a lot of time up front and being the glue and knitting the play together, etc., etc. But listen, when the circus kind of closes and we get a bit of calm when the transfer window shuts and Ronaldo's still here, let's anticipate that. Let's say Ronaldo's still here. Ronaldo's still going to play most of the games up front. Martial, mate, you proved you could play in the Ten Hag system. Get on the left hand side. Get back on the left hand side, mate, and let's see if you can cook under Ten Hag on the left, because Marcus Rashford again, like, he hasn't been great. Now in that get, he's been awful, not been great. Against Brighton, cool. I didn't see a player not trying. Didn't see that. Like last year, remember when he was just walking, he just wasn't tracking, wasn't trying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I saw a player who was trying but still had zero quality. That's what I saw. And Ten Hag, you know, if you're looking at it from the point of view of wanting the player to get back to normal and taking away the last 18 months, which I know is difficult. If you're looking at it from that point of view, what's the saying in football? It's better to be in the positions and miss than, you know, never be in the positions, even getting an opportunity to score. So he was in two good opportunities to score. Should have scored the first opportunity, which I think you reminded me or brought to my attention that it wasn't even going to be offside. It actually would have been a goal. Criminal.
Yeah,
Got to
and
score.
he has those moments, Rashford, as well, because I mean, look, Ten Hag's fully backing him there. Not only saying that
Massively.
he loves him, but he's saying like he will finish in the future. I trust he will finish in the future. But
Yeah.
again, if you have seen Rashford for the last couple of years, is
Yeah.
in those big moments where he should score, he will miss them. Like even
Yeah.
in preseason, when we're talking about good preseason, I remember I forget who it was against. Was it against Liverpool? They cut it back. He has
No, it
to
was
score.
Liverpool, yeah. And
Yeah, and
someone
he
blocked it. Yeah.
and he
Just
doesn't score.
scored.
Or
Yeah.
and again, he does it against Brighton. It's a good save by the keeper, but anywhere else, not at the keeper, it goes in.
Yeah.
And in those instances, and they did it. It was fascinating actually because he missed that chance against Brighton. And then they did a close up on him on Sky, and you could just see the confidence
Despair in his
drain
it's
from him, like
gone.
him thinking, oh,
Why? Why
here
can
we
you
go,
have
here we
shown
go
him?
again. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be different for me this season. And that is a guy who is still, whilst he might be a little bit higher up on confidence than he was towards last season because he was at rock bottom, he is still very fragile, clearly. Like
100%.
it's one missed chance and
Yeah.
here we go again. And maybe that's what it takes. Maybe that's what Ten Hag sees. He sees a guy, again, low on confidence and just says, I've got to keep backing him. I've got to keep pushing him, building up his confidence. And hopefully,
Rashford
I
needs
believe
one
he'll
to go in
come
off his
good.
ass. He
Yeah.
needs like an accident, just any goal. Like, it'd be interesting to see what happens if he does get a goal, when he does get a goal. Because we saw it last year where, remember, he came off the bench against West Ham and scored the tap-in and won us the game in the last minute.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, remember then we thought, right, okay, cool. You know, he's got that goal in his back pocket. Great feeling. At the time, that kept us in the top 4 race. I remember winning that game and being like, you know what, it
Last
wasn't
minute.
perfect.
We were
We
celebrating
weren't
outside Old
great.
Trafford.
Yeah, everyone was, excited. Everyone was excited, and we were like, it shows that Ralph brought on the subs and he brought on Cavani, Martial, and Rashford, I think it was, or something like that at the time, and they had an impact. And okay, cool, we know how it ended, but there was no follow up from that. Rashford scored 4 Premier League goals last year, I think, or 5. And had like 30 odd appearances, but hardly any starts because he just couldn't put any consistency together. Ten Hag seems like he doesn't really trust Elanga. He's not ready to put Garnacho in like that. Martial's not ready yet. He's gonna keep with Rashford the whole time, unless we buy someone new in this. Get a Cody Gakpo or something happened with Anthony or get a Depay or something happens in that area. he will go with and until Martial comes back fit, and Martial can't play up front because Ronaldo's there. He's going to keep going with Rashford. So Rashford has to do something, and then it's going to be interesting to see if Ten Hag's patience wears thin. He loves him now and is backing him, fine. But one thing that we talk Ajax guys did say is that he can be ruthless. You know, he does back his players in
Keep missing
public.
chances.
Yeah, you know, then a change will have to be made. Smash a like on the video, peeps. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Remember the match preview yesterday with Natalie Sawyer went up. It's still live now. So after you finish watching this, remember you guys can watch that. And remember, we've got the match view today at 5 p.m. as well. Owen in the studio with Steph and Faz, and we'll have live match reaction. Not live match reaction, actually, but match reaction.
A little bit
of
live match reaction. We always go for 15 minutes afterwards,
True.
kind of dissect the game, chat the game, and obviously then we do all of the fan views inside the studio and outside the studio as well. We've got you covered.
Exactly. So make sure you guys do that. Owen, what we got next?
Is it time to panic? Is it time to panic? That's what we've got next. He was asked, Erik ten Hag, about this. And this isn't just a press conference show. We are going to be talking about a couple of other stories after this. But he was asked about the sort of, maybe the word was panic that was used in the press conferences. You know, what have you made about some of the fan panic to the results last weekend? And Ten Hag said, quote, when Manchester United is not performing, not winning, that's normal. I would be more in panic if there wasn't panic because we have to win. That is the demand. Still, I would say panic isn't the right word. It's more like, come on, we have to act. We have to think bright and do the right things. Is it time to panic, Fleck?
Kind of. A bit, because you don't know, like, who we're going to get, who we linked with, where's the players. So it's time. It's time to panic a bit. I think we do have to get a balance of, like, okay, when it's match day, yeah, it's almost like you have to forget the circus and forget the lack of signings, even though the reason why we're still not very good, you could say, is because the signings aren't there. But you have to separate that and remember the other side of it, which is that still a new manager, still going to take time, still new philosophies, still new mental patterns with the players, i.e., if it doesn't go right, like you said, revert back to type. We saw it against Brighton, which is what worries me most about today's game, the mental fragility of the players. If, you know, Ivan Toney bullies Martinez and they score early, I already can't see how we would come back mentally. I just don't, you know, because we're trying to eat, like Cam said, we're trying to even get the plan A to be plan A and be aggressive and be on the front foot and do those things that we saw on tour, which was front foot, you know, Rashford, Martial, Sancho running their asses off to get the ball back, Bruno backing that up, you know, Fred being a lone six with I know we tried that against Brighton, didn't work, but those things were working on tour. They were. So we want to see that in the Premier League. We want to see us on the front foot, being aggressive, playing with tempo, playing with purpose, playing deliberate football. It's going to take time. So you, on one side, on one moment, it's not time to panic with those things. You know what I mean? I definitely have separated and compartmentalized those things. I'm not panicking in terms of we're still not playing the way we want to play. I can't see it yet, and still very early in that process. Got no problem with that. That's why I was saying I can take losing against Brighton. Do you know what I mean? It was the stuff afterwards that came about Brighton after that. You know, oh, now we're going to get an Arnautovic. Now we're going to get right. That was the stuff that was pissing me off the most, the lack of awareness and the lack of vision. But we do have to remember, that's one thing I'll always be big on, and I'll stand up to anybody who early doors says that to me as my opinion. Oh, but look how we're playing. He's doing the same thing. It's just the ain't changed and it's crap. He's supposed to be this. He's supposed to be that. This man is going to need a lot of time. So when it gets to game day and we're not seeing certain things, I've got patience. It's not time to panic there. But in terms of which players we're going to get and where are they and time running out, I think it's fair to have a little bit of panic. I do, personally.
I think also as well, he's right. It's not time to panic. And there is always a reaction to Manchester United losing because Manchester United, the expectations are high. And losing at home to anyone is a problem, let alone, you know, Brighton, let alone on the opening game of the season. That it causes a reaction. Clearly, there is a reaction. But he's right. It's not time to panic. And as you mentioned, it's going to take time. The issue is that there are plenty of aspects at Manchester United in which people are panicking. I.e., like you said, the transfer strategy clearly at this point is panic, scattergun, let's just get players in. There is panic going on right there. Players on the pitch, they panicked last week. They went 1-0 down and they panicked. So whilst it isn't time to panic, there is clearly panicking going on. And maybe that's not just a message to us as the fans, as if to say, try not to panic. It's a message to everyone in the club, like, calm down. This is why you only panic when there's no strategy. If you can see a clear plan, you don't panic. Even if something slightly deviates from the plan, you know what the plan is. You go, well, this is still part of the journey. This is still part of the plan. The reason why there is panic on the pitch when you go 1-0 down, the reason why there is panic in the transfer window, the reason why there is panics in some of the fans after that first game is because clearly there is a lack of a plan going on and everyone can see that. And that's what they're panicking. They're panicking about what is on the horizon. Whilst you're right, we do have to stay as rational, as calm as possible. That doubt or frustration does lead into panic when big events happen, like last weekend. So from a fan point of view, you're almost really just following the example of the club. There doesn't feel a lot of calm at the club. Hence, there's not a lot of calm by certain fans or even myself, like you said, in certain aspects of it. So it's one thing to say, but also you could push back at him and say, well, why are we panicking in the transfer window then? Or why are the players panicking?
Exactly.
During the games.
But then the players are panicking because they don't know anything else. Like the players reacting like that and reverting to type is like I said, I've got patience with that. I've got patience with it will come. And I've also got patience with, you could say things like, until Scott McTominay doesn't play there anymore, there's not going to be much progression in that area of the pitch. Until Fred maybe doesn't play there anymore, or until Rashford doesn't play there anymore, until Luke Shaw doesn't play there anymore, or whatever, until Dalot does. You can argue different play, Maguire, whatever. You can make a case for each player to say, I just think they've reached their ceiling as well. Until he doesn't play and we get a different type of profile of player, I can't see that getting much better. But there's still repetition and familiarity that can come from these players more than what we're seeing now. 100%. I think that we're capable of playing better than this with a better manager. How much better? We'll have to wait and see, because like I said, we've all made some massive conclusions about a lot of players, but a lot of the players can play better than what they're doing under a manager that is now well known for setting his team up well. And also confidence. Like, it's easier for players to buy into what a manager's doing when they see positive results, when they see goals, when they see games being won and points on the board. I know it's up to the players to do it and it's up to the players to get it done, but essentially it makes that easier if you're coming off the back of 3 points. You know what I mean? If you're not drawing games, if you're not playing then Liverpool on a Monday night and then you lose and then you're just in the rut straight away. So yeah, I think not time to panic in some ways, but definitely cause for concern in others. I don't think we should.
And let's be honest, panic very feasibly is around the corner.
100%.
It could be time to panic in like 2 weeks.
Exactly. Well, like you said, the hierarchy's panicking. John
Clearly,
getting pictured going to Italy, and like we're flipping about to get De Jong or about to get the next best thing. It's like, mate, we're going to get Rabiot. We're going to talk to his mum. Like, it's not his fault he got filmed. I'm just saying, like, it just sums us up, innit? So yeah, make sure you smash a like on the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let's read out a couple of you guys' super chats here. Here we go. So Carter says, tonight it feels different. 3-1 United. I love that optimism, Carter. I really do. Big up Jermaine. Jermaine says, we sit here laughing at Barca for their economic levers. However, they have taken the steps to win trophies this season. What has United done? And you know what? When I was on Sky yesterday, a guy called Rick, I can't remember his last name. He covers Barca. And he came on and was saying, you can look at this two ways. You can say they're absolutely mad how they're getting away with it, or you could say at least they've actually now got a team that can compete in a really exciting team. Yes, the way their run is horrendous. And I'm not saying I'd rather swap and be in that kind of debt and, having to get players take pay cut. It's a shambles of a situation. But like that super chat there just said, they've shown intent. They've rebuilt the squad. They've backed Javi. Do you know what I mean? They're doing some other questionable stuff that's morally not right. And I'm not saying I want to trade that morality for the high ground of being competitive, but at least they are. You look at Barcelona's team now, they're up there. Do you know what I mean? Lewandowski, Dembele, with some of the players, but Koundé, Kessie and stuff like that. They've brought in players that can make them challenge again. So I hear what Jermaine's saying there. Stephen says, thoughts on routinely playing Ericsson and Fred or Scott as a double pivot, Bruno and or Van der Beek as the 10. I think it can work. I think today one of McTominay and Fred miss out. I think Ericsson goes into midfield in place of one of McTominay or Fred. I think it'll probably be McTominay. And I think he goes Bruno, Ericsson, Fred. That's what I think. What do you think, Owen?
Yeah, I think it's Fred and Ericsson as the 2. I think the 3 is Bruno, Sancho, Rashford. I think Ronaldo starts today. I do. I think Ten Hag's going to try and Ronaldo ain't going to play the whole game, but I think Ten Hag's point of view now might be, let's just go 1-0 up. Let's get a lead, and then we can try to defend it as opposed to chase the game.
Yeah, we've got to have Ronaldo must start this game. He has to, or we've got nothing. We've got no focal point. I don't care how long he can last. It's Ronaldo, especially feeds off confidence. If he scored one, I guarantee he could play 90 minutes. Do you know what I mean? And Dill says, guys, I know we've all seen this before, but I generally think Erik Ten Hag is allowing McFred and Shaw to drop themselves. The fan base needs to be patient. Side note, Rashford plays best when he plays with Martial. Interesting there. He thinks he's just getting players to expose themselves so we can make an example of them to say, look, 2 hands tied behind my back, mate. And interesting to see you think Rashford does his best work with Martial as well. Stephen says, also, we are likely to get Rabiot. Therefore, he should play with Ericsson, Bruno, Donny as the 10. Oh, with Ericsson.
With
with
Bruno, it could be Rabiot,
Ericsson,
Bruno
and then
as the
Bruno
10.
or Donny.
It's not horrendous, is it? It's an
No.
improvement.
It's an improvement. Exactly. So our thoughts are that, Stephen, that's not horrendous. It's an improvement. But again, that's the thing. It's like everything gets lost with the Rabiot thing because it's not that he's absolutely horrendous. It's just that it's a bit flattering. He's not played a huge part in what Juventus have done recently. Sometimes has a little bit of a reputation for being a bit of a troublemaker. I don't want to say that he definitely is that. I'm just saying there's a stigma there. And he's just a little bit underwhelming. But again, you say he's better than McTominay. James says we're in trouble if he persists with the same team. Yeah, I think if he just rolls out McTominay and Fred again, a false 9 with Bruno this time instead of Ericsson, maybe. I don't know. He's got to get a striker and he's got to change that midfield, as we saw. And descendant of the first crackhead says Martinez, Ericsson, Bruno in midfield, Varane, Maguire at the back. Yeah, I can't see him just instantly changing the midfield, the centre-back partnership. I can't see him changing that. And Harry Maguire, the way he was talking after the game was almost like he knows they're just the dead set starters. It's like, yeah, me and him are going to keep building. We weren't on the same wavelength, but that will come. Almost like, yeah, that's my partner. I'm going to be playing with him every game.
You think of that, though, like, didn't really work with me and Varane. I couldn't really form a relationship with Varane, so it's going to be Martinez. Can you imagine?
Exactly. I get to choose. Josh, I didn't hear that. Sorry, just quickly. Okay, cool. Yeah. I could see Harry Maguire just playing with Martinez 100%. And last up, Owen, what we got?
We've got a report from The Athletic. Laurie Whitwell and also Philip Buckingham are saying that Memphis Depay's agents have made contact with Manchester United. We spoke about this a couple of times recently. We spoke about, obviously, he's negotiating an exit from his contract, so it would be a free transfer wherever he goes. It's been widely reported by Romano that Juventus are the favourites, seemingly to sign Depay. But last night, The Athletic coming out saying that, actually, you know what? They've offered the chance to get him, and whilst we've spoken about him a couple of times, and initially I was like, no, I'm not a big Memphis fan. Coming back to Manchester United, he was underwhelming and all that kind of stuff. A free transfer and a lack of options.
Oh, he's doing it. He's doing it.
I don't think it's a bad option as a free transfer. I don't at this point. We need bodies. We need options. And look, Sancho could get injured or could get ill again. Memphis is a better backup than bringing in Alanga or bringing in Chong or you know what I mean? Or he's got more experience than Garnacho.
Yeah.
We're talking about strikers. Martial's injured. We've got Ronaldo. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree in terms of a backup, 100%. In terms of building the team and making it the image that we want and all of the longevity, again, but that's not our fault. We're forced to think short term now because of what the club have done
for a long-term rebuild.
For a long-term rebuild, which the club have reaffirmed, that they know they can't fix it in one window. This is going to be, window upon window of support for Erik ten Hag. They've reiterated that the funds are there for the new manager. All of the buzzwords, that's fine, but we ain't seen it yet. But whilst we are light and we are going into the last couple of weeks of the transfer window, I do agree with you. I was not for Memphis Depay a few weeks ago when it was first sort of mentioned. But if you said to me now, you can get Memphis Depay on a free transfer to back up Sancho, to back up Rashford, to even go up front or whatever, across the front line, because that's where he can play. I would take that. But it just saddens me that it's always that I'll take it. Yeah, it's better than that.
The fact that it was the
we
Ziyech
shouldn't
thing
be in
yesterday.
that position. Man United, for God's sake.
It was like the Ziyech thing yesterday when I put out, would you go for Hakim Ziyech? And people were like, 8 million. He worked well with Ten Hag. Yeah, it didn't work out with Chelsea, but we'll take him. But my point was the fact that we're even having this conversation of, I guess because we haven't got anything else, or I guess because X, Y, Z. It's like the fact we're having the conversation of, well, I suppose because it's better than nothing. Is that really the targets we've got to be going for? But I guess it is. And again, we're not in the position to turn down Depay, although I still do think he'll go to Juventus ultimately.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get him. But then again, you never know. Dutch, the Dutch connection. He always wants players that he kind of knows of and stuff like that. It just there's a proper similarity between the type of people that he keeps going for. So we shall see on that. A lot of people in the comments getting involved as well. Last story on what we got.
Frenkie de Jong, speaking of the Dutch connection, we're ending on a high note. It came out from Marcel van der Kraan last night. He wrote in the Telegraph in Holland, Manchester United will make an attempt to get Frenkie de Jong within now and 7 days. He is still United's #1 priority signing. It's also been reported this morning by Ferran Martinez, who is a journalist based out in Spain, that there is total offensive by Manchester United for Frenkie de Jong. They are confident of completing his signing next week by making the best financial offer to both the player and Barcelona. Do you buy it? 7 days? It's like The Ring. You ever seen that horror film, The Ring? You watch the tape, 7 days. He's going to be signed, 7 days time. Count it down. He's going to be signed before the Liverpool game. Can you imagine? No,
don't buy it, mate. Don't buy it. I mean, I just have no opinion on the Frenkie de Jong thing anymore. I know that's a bit flat, probably not what people want to hear, but maybe what a lot of other people feel. I just feel like we're still in the race. Okay, cool. It could still happen, but there's a large chance it won't, for me personally. I'd rather see us get some other targets in now. And then if there's a way that we can still get him, over the moon. By the end of it, to finally get him, I would be over the moon, but I just don't see it. I actually see him staying at Barca.
This time next week, or by the end of next week, is Frenkie de Jong, is that deal been done, announced? Or are we getting a here we go from Romano?
Nah. No, I don't think so.
And that's not to say that Barca would have kept him by then, or Chelsea would have signed him either. I think this time next week, same position on everything.
Yeah,
nothing changes.
Yeah, I agree. A journalist, Ferran Martinez, was basically saying that, like what you were saying there, that there's face-to-face talks planned with De Jong and Erik ten Hag himself. Coming up next week and all this, I'm just don't buy it. I don't buy it. What is interesting is that Malacia is trending on Twitter. And it's, on him. I really want him to start today as well.
Yeah, he should start. Absolutely.
I think he should start. But there you go. Guys, smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Remember, we've got the match view today coming up at 5 p.m. Make sure you check Owen out. Keep the guys company. Steph and Faz in the studio at HQ. Me and Josh will be on the road. Can I also say,
Flex, by the way, as well, just to interrupt, because we are over 1,800 people watching. We've got like 300 odd likes. You know what to do. We can do it on the way out. We can do it on the way out. We can get to 500 on the way out. But yes, continue.
100%. You know what to do. Keep those guys company in the studio. Me and Josh will be on the road at the Brentford Community Stadium, getting some reaction down there from the game as well. And there'll be reaction as well from the studio. So everything covered. And also, if you haven't checked it out yet, in the lead up to today's game, the match preview is also up with Natalie Sawyer, which we did a couple of days ago. Put it up yesterday. Really, really good fun. Great production, short, sharp, different format, and you guys really enjoyed it, and the response to it was really good as well. So we'll see you later on this evening, guys. Hopefully something possible can happen. And also you'll get the road trip as well. So tune into the road trip. whenever that goes up in a few hours or whatever, when I'm driving down. We'll get that up and let me know what you think about the thoughts on the game as the match day content starts, or should I say continues. We are out of here, guys. Take care. See you later on this evening. Peace.